It looks like the Toronto Raptors have found their next project, as Enrique Freeman seems like the exact Masai Ujiri draft target and has already been interviewed by the team. And Masai Ujiri has also been caught scouting Bronny James once again this season. And given his strong performance at the NBA Draft Combine, there's a lot more Raptors fans turning their heads about all the smoke that has come up with the Raptors being linked and analyzing Bronny James's game over the course of this season. So we have a ton of draft stuff to sink our teeth into. And folks, if you want to stay up to date with everything regarding this Toronto Raptors team, and you've been watching the vids but haven't hit that subscribe button just yet, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is the Toronto Raptors scouting Bronny James. Now, this isn't the project that's out there in the thumbnail, but it is a guy that has certainly been looked at by the Toronto Raptors this entire year, and has certainly been polarizing amongst Toronto Raptors fans about whether or not fans want to see him in a Toronto Raptors jersey come next season. Well, Masai Ujiri, Dan Tolzman, the front office are doing their due diligence, as they should. They're doing their job, as they were caught scouting Bronny James amongst other prospects once again this week. Taking a look at their game, seeing whether or not, with the draft just a few weeks away, getting their last sort of looks at these players during the workouts. Now, Bronny James, obviously he himself, stat-wise, isn't that exciting of a prospect. I mean, averaged 5 points per game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists over the course of his college career. Did deal with a ton of turmoil during his college season because the guy dealt with a heart attack, cardiac arrest at the start of the year, missed a chunk of his college season. So lots of stuff going on, not to just make a big old excuse for Bronny James, but that is something he was dealing with. So a lot of people have their eyes on Bronny, at this NBA Draft Combine to see how he's performing against other sort of NBA level prospects, see how he's performing, and frankly, he has turned a bunch of heads during this sort of time. Former players are speaking out about him, as Jamal Crawford said, with 6'1" with a 40-inch vertical, that's going to jump off the page. And then to shoot 25 threes and make 19 of them, I'm watching that, and he's making the right play. So Jamal Crawford's coming out, giving his sort of praise there for Bronny James as a guy that sort of deserves his looks beyond the fact that he's LeBron James's kid, and teams are hopeful that he could potentially get drafted by the squads. But there's also other teams actually interested in bringing in Bronny James as well. So essentially, Shams the Athletic has come out and said that the Phoenix Suns will conduct a workout with Bronny James ahead of the June NBA draft, sources said, and Phoenix is the 22nd pick and are among several players in consideration. Bronny has over 10 workout invites, but is expected to only visit a few teams, including the Lakers and the Suns. So there's been a ton of coverage, obviously, on Bronny James right now, with his standout performance during the combine and stuff, but the stat line doesn't really lie. Even though he's a great defender, passer, his shooting ability seems to be improved, right? The actual game stuff is a little bit of a red flag. And then the off-the-court things, with the drama of LeBron James, you might view that as a positive or a negative. Obviously, it's a positive if, no matter how old he is, LeBron James is a major asset to your team. Bring him into your organization. I mean, as long as he's under the age of 50. But there's also you have the outside sort of looks and things that come with having LeBron James on your team, and he's not the bona fide best player in the world anymore, at this time of his NBA career. And then again, the off the court stuff, because Bronny James is going to be coming in with a little bit of drama, as his agent Rich Paul, obviously LeBron's agent as well, has said, yes, that's absolutely true. Bronny will not be accepting a two-way spot. Teams know that. I am not doing that. So essentially, his agent, despite the fact, again, we looked at his stats, Bronny James not putting up the greatest stat line, he's not going to come in and try to earn his sort of place, at least in terms of a two-way position. He wants that guaranteed roster spot. He's going to leverage everything he can to sort of get that position. His agent's going to do that as well. So, if you want the drama, the excitement, the storylines, then keep an eye out for Bronny James and stuff. But if he does get selected, because he's been shooting up the draft boards as of late, I mean, getting interviewed for number 22 pick, that's a bit crazy. But, if you're shooting up the draft boards, he has that relationship with Phoenix as well. James Jones being a longtime teammate of LeBron James, the GM of the Phoenix Suns. But essentially, there's a give and trade with drafting Bronny James, and that's just sort of how it goes. But the next topic of discussion, and the really interesting part of this video, is the Raptors have found their next prospect. At least in my opinion, this guy seems like the exact prototypical Masai Ujiri draft pick. And Masai Ujiri could sort of mold a guy, or at least an undrafted prospect, and put him into the Toronto Raptors. It seems like this guy was made perfectly for this Raptors front office. Is essentially Enrique Freeman is a dude that's taken out of Akron and is a 6'7" sort of small forward wing, a bit more of a forward, just 23 years old, a little bit older for a draft prospect and stuff, but has turned some heads with his story. And frankly, his story is crazy interesting, and he's actually been interviewed by the Toronto Raptors as of late, but we're going to take a look at his stat lines first. Basically, he has taken some major jumps over the course of his college career, his college sort of seasons. And you're looking at it, barely played in his sort of youngest season. I forget what they list them at in the NBA or NCAA standings, but went from 0.7 points per game, 0.6 rebounds, to averaging 19 points per game, 13 rebounds, 1.5 assists. He grew, he sprouted up, and he's a guy that had an unorthodox journey to the NBA, or at least the NBA draft. Hasn't made the NBA just yet. And there's a really nice article written by Sarah. Let's pull up her name. I have the graphic there. By Sarah Todd. We'll take some excerpts from it here. Basically saying over the course of his career, Freeman has spread up from up to 6'8", even though he's listed 6'7" in that sort of graphic. He missed basketball after sort of trying to be a walk-on in his first year, but didn't really decide to, being a skinnier player. But he loved playing the game and he loved competing. Though open gyms and intramural games were fine, he missed playing at a high level. He didn't want to tell anyone that he was thinking about trying out for the team. If he didn't make the team, he didn't want anyone to be disappointed. But also, he wanted to be all on his terms, and he wanted to be his own journey. So, essentially, a walk-on guy that stepped into Akron, obviously didn't get a ton of run early on in his career, but then really found his footing with that Akron squad down there. Essentially, in workouts with the NBA teams last year, we already looked at his stats, so he's putting up some solid numbers, but it was made clear to him that he needed to gain some strength, prove that he could shoot the ball, and extend his defense to the perimeter when Freeman is out there, went to oh my goodness, I can't read that. I think that's a spelling mistake in my graphics. Trying to learn the new tech that I got going for these vids and stuff. But essentially, he went to some NBA draft workouts last year, tried to get some feelers to see how he could sort of play, and then was told, hey, you got to improve a ton of stuff. Obviously, a walk-on guy just 3 years ago, trying to level up his game to get to that NBA level and top up that growth and athleticism that he sort of had in his mix. Well, things ended up working out really well for him in terms of his development and stuff. Essentially, Freeman has already interviewed with a number of NBA teams, including the Timberwolves, the Pacers, the Spurs, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Toronto Raptors and Golden State Warriors, Detroit Pistons, and Utah Jazz. And he has at least a dozen teams interested in booking him for a pre-draft workout, and his draft stock continues to rise. He's without a doubt the ideal candidate for a two-way contract, an NBA scout said, but I wouldn't be shocked if he gets picked and gets a standard deal in the NBA. He plays with so much joy and so much determination. His defense alone should earn him an extra look. So essentially, he's a guy that's game has been really solid. And prior to the combine, many would have predicted Freeman would have went undrafted, but by the end of the first couple of days of the combine, he was considered to be a late second-round pick. Now, a number of executives are wondering if he'll be available when they are picking earlier in the second round, and the rate at which he's improving, it's really incredible. The Western Conference executive told Desert News, I really don't have any concerns about him. My only concern is that he won't be there when they make their picks. So essentially, he is a guy that a lot of sort of people have him shooting up their sort of draft stock. I mean, you can see his stats, statistical improvement over the course of his college career, but the Raptors are currently selecting 31st overall, and executives across the sort of NBA wondering if he'll even make it that far. And I feel like the Toronto Raptors, looking at a raw prospect that is an elite rebounder at the forward position, can score in the paint extremely well. Questions about his three-point shooting shot, roughly, 32% from the three-point line during his last season in college. So not an elite shooter, but a raw prospect to be selected in the early second round that has taken this much of a leap every single season. It just feels like the prototypical Masai Ujiri draft pick, someone that is proven to have a good head on their shoulders, proven to take a level up every single season, and with a later round draft pick, again, someone that's not even the first round, it feels like a nice guy in terms of character, in terms of size, athleticism, and stuff to take a flyer on, to say, hey, let's give him this opportunity to come in, prove what he's worth, and see if he can really develop for the Toronto Raptors, who are a team that's currently in the middle of a retool here now at this point. So I believe he'll end up, 31 might be a little bit of a reach for a dude that was kind of expected to be undrafted, a little bit while ago, and the questionable jump shot and stuff. But with the potential that he's kind of shown development, even though he's a little bit older, I would not be shocked if the Raptors take a little bit of a reach and select him at number 31. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. You guys are the best thing this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.